Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. We are discussing today the political landscape of Liberia from 1970s to present. My guest is Mr. Dempster Yallah. Mr. Yallah, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Brother Dennis. Thank you very much for inviting me and having me on your informative and educational program tonight. It's a wonderful pleasure, and I hope I will live up to the expectation. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. And to our viewers across the globe, we say thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Here we discuss everything Liberia to elevate, to promote, and educate. We hope that you're going to have a wonderful time joining us. Our guest is Mr. Dempster Yallah. This name is very familiar to the progressive world. Mr. Yallah is, by way of brief introduction, he was born in Liberia in the Firestone area where he attended high school. He enrolled briefly at the BWI for a semester following his graduation from Habel Junior High, and later went to St. Patrick's High School. He did his undergraduate studies at the University of Liberia with major in general agriculture and minor in home and community development. He's regarded as a veteran of the Student Unification Party soup. I thought I was going to hear you say "Sao."
Sao. It's never late.
Right. He's a veteran of the Student Unification Party. He also a vice chairman. He rose along the rank to vice chairman of the party during his university sojourn at the University of Liberia. He's also a lifelong member of the Movement for Justice in Africa, MOJA, and also the Liberian People's Party, LPP. Mr. Yallah has a cherished honor, he told me, of being in prison or jail with other comrades of the LPP at the notorious Bella Yallah. He tells me that's an honor. And also at the post-Stake for 5 months. He spent 5 months at Bella Yallah and also 5 months at the post-Stake on suspicion that he was one of the author of a paper that came out called REACT. And that is the Revolutionary Action Committee, or REACT. He did, Mr. Yallah has worked as a licensed social worker in the state of Michigan with Community Mentor Agency for the past 20 years. He's been cited for numerous awards and recognition, among them the acclaimed Spirit of Detroit Award. Mr. Yallah is also a community activist. He's active in our diaspora community. He's a community organizer and activist. He's married to the one and only student political Iron Lady, Mrs. Lucia Masale Yallah, who was one of the 6 activists in prison at the notorious Bella Yallah. The name Bella Yallah keep coming up. So I'm going to play a clip on Bella Yallah before we continue. Yeah, let's play a clip on Bella Yallah, what this is. And Mr. Yallah and Bella Yallah, that means, is that your city or what?
No, I hope it were, but no. In fact, the Yallah is called Yallah.
Okay.
Not Yallah. It's just, the modern Western, enunciation, so they call it Yallah, but Yallah.
Oh, great.
By the river.
Oh, Yallah by the river.
Right.
So it's Bella Yallah.
Right.
So Bella Yallah is notorious. It's a notorious prison. I have a clip here from the Liberian History and Culture website of Bella Yallah in the 1970s. Let's play that.
Notorious as the camp at Bella Yallah. Bella Yallah is a sort of African Devil's Island, surrounded by jungle. 3 days' walk from the nearest road. Some of the inmates are hardened criminals. Some are called security risks. Some are classified as troublemakers sent by direct order of the president. Food allowance per prisoner is less than a nickel a day. NBC News' Robert Rogers was the first reporter ever to visit Bella Yallah. What did you come here for? Well, Did they tell you what security risk means? Well, no. How long have you been here? I've been here since 65. What was your offense? I was arrested for vagrancy. Vagrancy? And what does that mean? Working late hours in the night. How long have you been here?
I want to increase the volume, but I don't know. I don't want to mess it up.
I am sent directly by the president. We want to send directly by the president because he's quite straight. Because he doesn't want to lose his job and he doesn't want to get where I am. So he has to be quite straight himself. You ever think about trying to escape from here? No, I haven't ever. Of course, I believe, frankly, I think I can escape any jail in that except to just put me in a prison, put a chain on my neck and kill me. But the Bible says that
They see me too and they can hear me.
if I'm not mistaken, I just cannot quote the book quite quickly now. But it says that if you have difficulties with your leader, you must not escape, because that in itself shows some sort of disobedience or some sort of envy against your leader's dissatisfaction. So I am contented with whatever punishment my leader, the president, feels that I should bear. But one thing I am citing off, I am a loyal and patriotic citizen, and I shall remain this way until death. President Tubman frequently boasts of the peace and stability of Liberia, but he is not above using the threat of subversion to justify increasing his own power. There has been no real trouble for years. Last October, he had himself granted emergency powers, including the right to suspend the writ of habeas corpus.
That's a brief clip on
Yes.
Yallah.
Yes.
And that was recorded in 1970. So you heard the prisoner say they were there from 1965, meaning they were there for 5 years.
Right.
But let's begin by asking you, Mr. Yallah, the reason for this political landscape to really check it is we want to talk to someone who has lived through some of the presidents or the political eras in Liberia, which you have done. So talk to me first about your formative days before you became a member of SOUP.
Thank you once again, Brother Dennis, for the invitation, for this opportunity. I grew up in Firestone, like you rightfully said from the onset of the program. I went to elementary, from kindergarten, elementary, junior high school in Firestone. So those were my formative days. And then after graduating from Habell Junior High, I enrolled at Booker T. Washington Institute. But regrettably and incidentally, that lasted for only one semester. And the reason for that was that there was a strike on campus and over the lack of tools in workshops and working materials in the workshop. And because of that, the government shut the school down, and I think BWI was closed for either 2 years or a little more than 2 years. I didn't pay too much keen attention to that because when the school was shut down, that's when I enrolled at St. Patrick's High School, and that's where I went. And then from there on to the University of Liberia and onwards or so. If you wanted me to go live further at the University of Liberia, I studied.
Before you get to the university, I want to see how you got involved in politics, maybe around the junior high, senior high school, or if there was some upbringing there.
Well, let me put it this way. While growing up, we heard of apartheid in South Africa and the oppression of people in other parts of the world. I mean, not part of the world, but in Africa. Some African countries were still under colonialism. But right there in Firestone in Liberia, growing up, at the time, when you're in the moment, maybe you don't realize those things or so until you step outside of the environment. So while I was there, I grew up in it, or so I didn't see it until I stepped outside before I realized that, oh, wow, the very thing that we are hearing and discussing about South Africa and other places similar thing, maybe not at the same, height, were happening right there in Liberia in Firestone. I give you some typical examples. For example, let's start with the pregnant women. When women were in their 8th month or ninth month, there was a hospital vehicle in the Manuel that would go around the plantation and collect pregnant women, as I said, in their 8th or 9th month, and take them to Dusa Hospital. But when they went to Dusa Hospital, because they were not ready for delivery at the time, not even in labor at the time, they would be placed on a shed, just a big open tent, so to speak. The women were placed there. They would be there waiting until they were in labor and delivered before they would be taken back to their camps or so. So all those kinds of treatment that were meted out to our people in Firestone. More than that, or in addition to that, rather, when there was any emergency, say for instance, one of the tappers got critically ill, fell from a rubber tree, or got bitten by a snake, scorpion, whatever the situation was, if the superintendent, who was the only person on that plant, not on the plantation, but in that camp, who had a vehicle, if the superintendent was not available, that tapper was doomed, unless by the mercy of God that the person survived. First, they would either ring a bell, or rush to the bungalow. If the superintendent was gone for whatever he went on or so, that was the fate of that tapper. And many times people die from those kinds of stuff, those kinds of situations. So we saw all of those things. So those things opened our eyes. So when we heard people like Albert Pote or Tipote or Fambola Sawyer, talking about those same situations in other parts of Africa, then we realized that, wow, these things are happening right here, with us. And, it's the same thing. So those are the things that opened our eyes before we enrolled at the University of Liberia.
All right. So your actual political experience, I know we're going to get to your involvement or your participation or your membership in Moja or the Progressive, but did your political experience start with the Progressive?
Yes, kind of, because as I said, when you are growing up into the midst of things, you don't realize that you've been conscientized, so to speak, until perhaps at some moment in your life. It's just like going to church. People go to church for some length of time before at some strategic point in that church life, then they get more spiritual. In fact, that's when some people say they accepted Christ as their savior, those kinds of stuff. So for us, we were just growing up in Firestone, not knowing what was going on around us or so, until when we were getting, little older and understanding the dynamics that was going on around us or so, before we realized that, oh, this is what was going on. So, to an extent, yes, Firestone helped to conscientize us. Firestone helped to open our eyes. But of course, as I said, when we started hearing speeches of Tipote, Sawyer, Famole, Dew Missing, and even pastors were preaching liberation theology at the time then. People like Mother Dukley, people like E. Twama Reeves, people like Reverend Tyre, and you name them. They started preaching, about change in Liberian society, about all the wrongs and ills that were happening to people or so. So all those things helped to open our eyes. Thank you.
All right. And I remember that song, but we'll come to that song. Our eyes are open. But we look at the People Alliance of Liberia, PAL. We look at OJA, the Movement for Justice in Africa, and those two, which later transformed into UPP and LPP.
Right.
Are those the two political institutions we call the Progressive, or what is it, Progressive?
Well, I would think, a progressive is anybody who, any group of people who think beyond, the norm. People who want tradition and society to remain the same all the time are conservative. And people who want change based on reality or so are progressive. They're progressive in thinking. And that's what we think we were. We thought that, the existing system at the time or so was inadequate, that, there was a need for change. There was a need to treat people differently and adequately in terms of the resources, in terms of the governance of the country, in terms of rule of law and all of that. We thought there was a need for change. So I guess that's how and when, we became, categorized as progressive, something that we don't run away from.
All right. So let's look at the progressives, because you are one of them. And if you are just
I hope so.
If you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jah. We are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight, our topic is the political landscape of Liberia. We want to do a review and analysis. We have a longtime progressive and student activist, a community activist, Mr. Dempster Yallah, who at one point of his life was taken to the notorious Bella Yallah and also the post-Stake for 5 months each. Mr. Yallah, what prompted those institutions, when we talk about the progressive, PAL, Moja, what prompted them?
Well, I will speak mostly about Moja, because that's the organization I was part of. And of course, you can co-opt PAL, because we cooperated at some time, and then we went separate for after a while or so. But Moja, as you will recall, it started off as a Pan-Africanist organization. Having seen and heard of the oppression in places like, Mozambique, Angola, South Africa, and other places in Africa that were still under the yoke of colonialism. So Moja, just determined that it was necessary, to continue to promote, and advocate on behalf of those people so that they too can get liberated, they too can get independent like Liberia. All right. So that's the idea that came about with Moja, or with the formation of Moja. But sometime in between, Moja realized that, as a matter of fact, like I said from the onset, that some of the same things that were happening in Angola, in Mozambique, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, were happening in Liberia, but maybe only at a subtle scale. All right. So that's when Moja started pronouncing, denouncing, decrying those very tendencies and attitudes on behalf of our leaders who were practicing some of the same thing, as I said, that were happening in other parts of Africa that were still under the yoke of colonialism. So, you say that's how it started. And then, of course, it went not only in speeches or so, people started pamphleteering. People started writing, releases and leaflets or so. I'm sure you heard about the University Revelation magazine. I mean, not the university, because it was, even though we were university students, but it was a private, enterprise. But like the university spokesman, then the Progressive Alliance had the Revolution magazine. Then Moja had Gwefakbe, all those magazines and those leaflets and those periodicals or so were exposing all the kinds of atrocities and inhuman treatment that people were, that were being meted out to people on our continent, and somewhat so to speak in Liberia also. So those things, elevated to the point where it became a full-fledged progressive movement, so to speak. Yes.
So what were some of those things happening in Liberia that prompted Moja, for instance, to focus mainly on Liberia instead of the Pan-Africanist idea it started with?
Right. For instance, for example, the Firestone rubber plantation, all right, that was an organized, oppressive system, as it still is, even though things are improving on that plantation or so, but it was an organized, oppressive system, all right? But in addition to that, even some Liberian officials or so had their own little private rubber enterprises or so that were in fact more inhumane than even Firestone. You know, those kinds of stuff. So where workers will work all month and get chicken fees for their pay, you know, if they got the pay, that is, or they will not even get paid. All right, those kinds of things. And not only rubber plantation, but government officials will detail, you know, their staff, their employees to go on their farms and work. You know, that was not part of their work, you know, description or assignment, you know, so. But those things were happening in Liberia. So minimum wage, not even minimum wage, but below minimum wage, non-payment of wages, those kinds of things were happening to people. And then, of course, when people are engaged in enterprises and they got hurt or they got you know, sick or so, those people will not take care of them. You know, it's your responsibility. So those are things that were going on, and so Moja and PAB felt that it was inhumane and they needed to deal with them.
All right, and then so tell me about the strength and weaknesses of this Moja, because a lot of people, especially today's generation, not a lot they know about Moja and PAL or LPP and UPP.
All right.
Briefly discuss.
Yeah, I would say the main strength of the two organizations was the fact that they were mass-based. All right. The two organizations attracted support from among workers, students, market women and men, professionals, including even the military and the police. Okay, that reality was what really emboldened their leaders to take on any issue, to confront, you know, the power that be in any faction, manner or so, without fear. All right. And also that fact alone, or that factor rather, also was an intimidating factor for the government. All right, for the authority that be, or the power that be, so that they felt intimidated in taking any action, you know, against the leadership of those organizations, or even those organizations. The fact that they were mass-based. So when it comes to mass-based movement in Liberia, so Moja and PAL, you know, you can say were one of the first few, you know, among the real organized mass-based organizations in Liberia. Then too, given what was happening in Liberia, what Moja and PAL advocated, egalitarianism, you know, they fight for freedom, they fight for justice, they fight for human rights, they fight for rule of law. All those things were attractive to the masses of the people, because first what did they have to lose? You know, they were already suffering. They were already, you know, oppressed in so many ways or so. So when Moja and PAL came as alternative to what was being offered or what was existing or so of course the masses went for it. So the mass-based structure of the two organizations was a source of strength, and of course what they were preaching, which was not any kind of utopia or so, it was the fact, you know, that people were being, you know, abused in so many ways, and factions or so were very attractive to the masses of the people. So I'll stop there on, you know, here, you know, what.
And where did this institution go wrong?
You mean Moja and PAL?
Yes.
Well, you know, initially the two organizations, you know, collaborated to a large extent. All right. And like even the church that we go to, or the churches that we go to, there are always frictions, there are always, you know, dichotomy, you know, within the membership. So that came about. Moja and PAL realized that, you know, their approaches, you know, were not the same at some point. You know, there are, you know, let me put it this way. I'll be careful here, because Moja and PAL, not Moja and PAL, but LPP and UPP, because as you know, the two organizations transform into real political parties. You know, we stay collaborating, so there's no need to badmouth, you know, PAL or UPP or so. No, I will not do that. I mean, we could do that, but it would be, maybe on an internal level, at the internal level or so. So I will not sit on the forum here tonight to bob off PAL or UPP. But however, I would just say that at some point we realized that the two organizations were operating at a different wavelength. So they went their separate ways. So that was a weakness in itself. You thought that perhaps, they would continue, and trashing their differences, minute differences and whatnot, and organizing, the Liberian people, as I said, they were the two popular mass-based party or organizations in Liberia that they would have continued along that trend, to organize and attract more people. So those are some of the things that happen. And of course, also, like in every social political organization, there's also the tendency of security infiltration. So security forces infiltrate the organizations and whatnot. They come with their own agenda and whatnot. They will not be there to foster the agenda of the two organizations, but introducing things that will, what we call, agents provocateurs, things that will put the organizations, in jeopardy or in harm's way with the powers that be. All of those factors or so. Besides that, any organization, social, political organization, they have their own share of opportunities also. So, opportunism, some few people, regardless of their rank or status in the organization, one thing, a particular thing for themselves or so, all those things betray the cause of progressivism or, the struggle that we were, waging on behalf of our people. So those are some of the factors that hamper, our activities in Liberia.
You talk about the struggles that you were waging on behalf of your people. Did you succeed as PAL, Moja, LPP, UPP?
Oh yes, definitely, yeah, without a doubt, we succeeded. Because firstly, Brother Jai, you realize that the struggle was all about democracy. The struggle was all about human rights. The struggle was all about rule of law. The struggle was all about multi-party democracy, so to speak. So, even given the fact that Liberia may not be there yet, the situation may not be perfect, in Liberia now, but we have come a long way, and we can even brag of the fact that democracy, has gained a foothold in Liberia, and multi-party democracy especially. People now have rights in so many ways. Of course, there are still vestiges of, the past where, government is clamping down on the press at some instances, or in some instances, government is still intimidating people in some instances or whatnot. But gradually, this thing is a process. It's not an event. So we know that gradually, as long as we continue to maintain or guard, what we have gained thus far, we will succeed, and democracy will be at its fullest in the near future.
I know the topic of Moja, PAL, LPP, UPP is going to be discussed throughout the night. But let me go back to you as an individual who became an activist and went to jail for speaking up. Did your parents, were your parents involved in politics or were activism, or how did you get into it? Who, besides the progressive, besides Tipote, who else did you watch in your family?
Interestingly, I was the first person that enrolled in college in my family. So, and because of my, level of consciousness or so, my parents, incidentally looked up to me for advice. Of course, they will always come up with the parental concern and advice, leave the people think, these people, you might get killed and all of that, but no, my parents were not intimidated in any way, even though that they did not encourage me to do anything, or so they did not advise me to do anything, so to speak. I did it, just by the influence of friends. And if ever, there is this thing called peer pressure, I think there are positive peer pressure. And I think, I benefited from that. And by peer pressure, I mean that, the fact that, we work together as an organization, or as organizations at different levels or so. And you saw the good example of Tipote, of Sawyer, of Famole, of Missy and whatnot or so. And we tried to pursue those lines or so. That was a positive peer pressure right there. And so, no, my parents did not discourage me, neither did they encourage me. As a matter of fact, as I said, they advised me to be careful. That's all they would say. Be careful. These people, you could get locked up, you could get killed and whatnot. But of course, our prime objective was the emancipation of our people, and nothing could have been greater than that. So even if it meant, laying down your life, in that pursuit, so be it.
So was the overthrow of President Talbot or the coup of 1980, was it part of the emancipation of quote unquote our people?
No, Brother Jai and my fellow listeners in TV radio land. No, not at all. As a matter of fact, that whole Talbot scenario took us by surprise. As far as I'm concerned, I was not up in the hierarchy of my own organization, but I know if anything of that nature was being planned, it was simmered down to us so that we know what was happening at the top level. But no, there was no overthrow in our agenda, in our program. It was merely, to let me just, for lack of better terminology, to harass, the power that be, so that they would reverse some of the things that they were doing wrong, so that they would, put us on the right course. No overthrow was in our agenda. The overthrow came as a surprise. Even the leadership later on, we heard that they themselves were shocked, by what happened. And I can tell you that I saw, though, in the early days of the coup, the student movement, Linsu, we organized not protest, but we organized a march in support of the quote unquote revolution at the time. And we met Doe at the mansion, all right? The Doe that I saw, the Doe that I met, was shivering in his boots, okay? He had on his military outfit or so, but still he was very intimidated by university students. So I couldn't even imagine that kind of man planning, that kind of sophisticated, a project, all right? So we know that it wasn't the Does and the Kuyonpas and the Penus and those people, that level of caliber of people that planned that thing, all right? They were just used as instruments, to get rid of Talbot. To tell you the truth also, that we, as for instance, university students, we as SUP militants especially, we as Moja people, we as, at the time, LPP did not exist, but Moja people, I can tell you that we would have rather Talbot to continue to be president of Liberia, because Talbot sincerely was making changes, was making progress, all right? He was listening. Talbot was a visionary. Talbot was listening to, our criticism. He was adjusting his policies or so. Whether they were slow in coming, but I can tell you that Talbot was listening. He was responding to criticisms or so. So we would prefer Talbot than other people who came along and started brutalizing us, as a matter of fact, for even proposing or suggesting some of those very ideas to them. So no, Talbot, the killing of Talbot, no, did not meet our approval. We did not like it because it set us backward as we continue to experience up to today.
So just to be clear, so the overthrow of President Talbot was either a hijack or an icing on the cake. Which one?
A complete hijack of the process. People took advantage. People who sponsored that initiative took advantage of the disenchantment of the Liberian people, and therefore, they thought that if they did it, of course, the masses of the people, will celebrate, will embrace it. That's what happened from the beginning, because when it happened, I can tell you also there was, ambiguity as to whether we should accept it, as progressives or not accept it. So the question was, if we didn't accept it, we too may have fallen victim All right. So we said, well, we'll take our chances with these guys for now. Let's see if we can, direct or redirect, their efforts in in some ways for a positive outcome for Liberia. And that's what happened. That's what the progressives did, that they will cooperate, for the greater good of the country. They cooperated, but at some point, their cooperation, was it became detrimental because they were seen now as quote unquote communist, socialist, or so. They started purging them from the system one by one, and that's what happened, and that's what led to this integration of the whole process.
Right. So, to your knowledge, to the best of your knowledge, who do you know planned the coup? Because you keep making reference to the planners.
But that is, I would say, if you read Victoria Tauber's book, I forget the title of that book, but I think Victoria Tauber, lay out very plainly and clearly.
That's the wife of the late President Tauber.
Exactly so. She laid it out very plainly, clearly for all of us. She didn't, mince her words. She knew that coup was not planned by the Do Kuyongpa panel group. So, even myself, when I'm any kind of insider, I can just rely on those kind of accounts or so. And even on the morning of April 12th, people told us they saw, for instance, a fellow told me that he saw a Caucasian fellow in the little park by the university, right across from St. Patrick's and the university, that park with the Tottenham Monument. Right. He said he saw a Caucasian fellow, that either was wounded or was dead in that park lying down there. Now, what was the Caucasian doing? He could have been caught up in a crossfire, but we know that maybe he might have been one of the active participants, in that whole affairs or so. And of course, from Victoria Tauber's book, we know that the people who killed Tauber were not black, were not, Liberian soldiers. So, so far that's what we know.
Okay, but the progressive benefited because they were free from jail. That's number one. They became high-ranking officials in the PRC government, so on and so forth.
Well, yeah, you can call that benefit because from what we hear again, because there's no kind of concrete, solid written account of what might have transpired if that coup had not taken place. Because we heard, for example, that the guys who were in prison, Parker Matthews and his group, were on a list to be assassinated, to be killed. So if that coup had not occurred, who knows? Whether in fact it was true that was about to happen, but given the Tauber we know also, it was far-fetched. But at the same time, sometimes, those political experiences or so, will sometimes happen without any kind of logical explanation or so. So I don't know. But yeah, but by the way, when people classify the group of people that were, collaborating like PAL and Moja and whatnot as progressives or so, they also forget to know that we were not monolithic, that we were two distinct organizations, operating at different wavelengths, all right, different styles of leadership and organizational structures and operational procedures and all of that. So it was not, just when Baker Matthews said they will move or Tipper said this will move. No, again, I said earlier that at some point, in fact, the two organizations realized that they were not operating at the same wavelength, so they had to separate. So when you say the progressive benefited, except for the fact that, the leadership of PAL that was in jail at the time, was not killed, that's a benefit to Liberia, because who knows what may have been the reaction to killing those people at that time. We don't know. So yeah, okay, we can say they benefited somewhat.
All right. So to your own activism on the University of Liberia campus, and I think I have a clip of university students protesting, and that's a pretty familiar, very familiar to you.
I don't know what you mean, but let me see the clip. Are you playing the clip?
Yeah, let me play the clip.
All right, thank you.
University students are.
See the attendant, whoever must come down, the upper must come down.
So, Mr. Yallah.
Yes, sir.
They are chanting U.S. rates countdown, gas price countdown. But I want to talk about your own activism, and we'll compare your days of activism to now. But first of all, what was your involvement in student activism at the University of Liberia?
At the highest level, as I said,
you wore the khaki too.
Excuse me?
So you wore the khaki uniform also?
No, I did not have to wear khaki uniform. It's just like here in America, I don't have to wear African attire to show or to prove my Africanness. So at the university, I didn't have to wear khaki, but you know, my actions spoke louder than those artificial stuff. But anyway, during my time, the way we approach issues or so is quite different from now. But I want you to also know that this generation of students, you know, at the university and all over Liberia or so, you know, is quite what people call in Liberia self-read. All right. So people who are self-read, and I don't know if I should even say I don't mean that to be derogatory, but it's just a fact of what happened, what transpired since the onset of the war for 15 years. People who grew up in that time, you know how we grew up, even at the village level, at the university level and whatnot, even if it means, you know, you saw how people there dressed or how Sawyers spoke, farmers spoke and whatnot, so you want to mimic those things, that's fine. Even at the village level, all right? People imitated, people listened to the elders, people, you know, learned from folk laws and folk tales and whatnot that were told in the villages or so. But during the war, none, zip, zero, none of those things existed, all right? So it tells us that the kids who grew up for within those 15 years, or even extended to 20 years or so. So a child that was maybe born, that was just 2 years old when the war started, you know, all just either with gun in their hand, but no respect for elders, no respect for any rules or custom in the villages and whatnot. So they grew up to be what they are today. All right. Now, I'm expressing that to picture for all of us here that so such kids so got no morals in them. You know, they do things arbitrarily. They do things, you know, just, you know, on the spur of the moment without any kind of critical thinking and consideration. And because I mentioned critical thinking, I'll just go back one step. In Moja, for example, when I was, when I became affiliated with Moja had a tradition that we used to call critical section. That after every major event, after every major policy in Moja, after every major speech, just name it, anything major, anything, you know, unusual. So there will be a critical section within the organization. It will be at a, hierarchical level, you know, where people will go and discuss, you know, why did you do this? How did you do this? And what, you know, the importance and all of those kind of stuff, like what people call the SWOT analysis or so. That's what used to happen in Moja. Now, with the current student population in Liberia, they never had those kind of opportunities. All right, they grew up on their own, doing their own things or so. So everything, regrettably, now is more violent prone than civil. You know, unfortunately. So in my days, or for the 5 years I was at the university. By the way, I graduated from agricultural college. It required too many science courses, so I took 5 years. But I can just name the number of quote unquote strike, and they were well organized strike and purposeful. For instance, I remember one when Jimmy Carter arrived in Liberia. You know, it was that strike, but demonstration. You know, just to not signal, but send out. You know, our disapproval of Carter's. And the reason for that was that Carter went to Nigeria. I think he spent a night or so in Nigeria. He went to other African countries. He spent 1 or 2 nights in those countries. Liberia, that has been a traditional friend of Liberia. Jimmy Carter went there for 4 hours. 4 hours. All right. Do you know, when you look at the economic implication of a president of the United States visiting like a country like Liberia, the kinds of resources and things that were expended, you know, for that Carter visit. So we felt that it was useless. It was useless. So of course we organized some kind of little, you know, demonstration or whatnot, protest rally or so. But again, on our campus, we didn't go out in the streets. All right, on the university campus. All right.
All right. And we'll deal more into that as we compare today's current reality. But let me go back to your experience, and also what took you to Bella Yallah and what did you learn?
Quite interesting. I went to Bella Yallah, you know, on a mere accusation. I was accused of being part of the authorship, as you read, you know, from the beginning, of a leaflet that was circulated in Liberia called REACT, the quote-unquote Revolutionary Action Committee. Now, I don't know anything about the formation of that organization. I never took part in writing any, you know, release under that nomenclature. But because my house, when I graduated from college, my wife graduated from college, we lived together along with the former chairman of the Election Commission, Mr. Jim Fromoyan. With the three of us rented a house in Lakwasi. So when LPP was being organized as a political party, we offered our house as a temporary headquarters where people could meet, you know, to carry on that organizational process. So because of that, maybe some security, you know, informant left from there, went with the information or disinformation that, you know, we were writing REACT based on whatever I don't know. So this morning, you know, on December the 3rd, my birthday is December the 2nd, celebrated it very, very warmly, nicely. On the 3rd in the morning, you know, security forces from NSA, they arrived by the house, arrested us, and that's how we went in. Okay. So nothing that I knew about REACT or so. I've forgotten the thrust of your question. What was the question again?
So, I mean, yeah, you explained why you were sent to Bella Yallah.
Okay, so why I was sent to Bella Yallah. So
and what did you learn from that experience?
No, I come right, exactly. So, okay. So when we were arrested, you know, they separated us. You know that the Liberian people like to imitate other people. Then when we were arrested, they carried Jim Fromoyan to Zone 3. They carried Dempster Yallah to Zone 5. They came into what they play in Newcrest, West Point. West Point in the security, in the police cell there. They carried Lucia to Congo Town. They carried Patibo here, you know, just like that. All right. Then later on, they gathered us together again and took us to the NSA. Now to go and fingerprint. I mean, all this thing going on. Nobody has even told us why we were picked up. Nothing of the kind. And you know, may peace be to his ashes, the late Jacob Nimlin. He was heading that whole team to go arrest us. All right. Long story short, went to the NSA. We stayed there for a night. The second night, around about 3:00 in the morning, they took us to the Ministry of Defense. We went to meet the quote-unquote Joint Security Forces. Drunken people, you know, including the Duba, the late Grady Allison, not Kobe Johnson, what they meant, Jenkins Scott, you know, Sylvester Moses, that is here now, who now on the internet all the time, you know, now as this this Democrat, all the kind of stuff. They were all at that meeting, all right? At the Joint Security Force to interview us. And the interview was, who told you to form party? Where is Amos Sawyer? Where you got the money from? You know, nothing related to React. Nothing. Nobody asked me any question on, do you know who are the writers of React? Or we suspect that you are a writer of React. Nothing. But everything about who told you to form party, where is Amos Sawyer, where you got the money from, those kind of stuff. So, long story short, they took us to the post target, and flock us on top of that. Flock us. I'm emphasizing the word flock. I want you to feel it. Flock.
Yeah, I feel it right now.
Flock us, 25 lashes each. From there, we're at the post target. That was December the 5th, because we were arrested December the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and they took us to the post target. That afternoon, that evening, round about maybe 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. Flock us. We're at the post target. Every, Liberia, no information coming in. So every major holiday, we thought maybe would be released. That they would just make noise. Oh, these people were students. February 11 came, Armed Forces Day. We thought we were going to be released on that day. No way. It was on that day that they took us from the post target. No, they were the next day, on the 12th. So that holiday came in on the 12th from the post target. We didn't know where we were going. So they took us, they passed us by the mansion or behind the mansion by way of the Budget Bureau. They used to call it Budget Bureau area there. And took us by the mansion and took us to James Springfield Airport. All right. 2 Cessna planes were waiting for us at the airport, James Springfield FE. They took us there, put us on the airplane, and took us straight to Bella Yallah.
And right? this was 1985 or 84? This
was 1984 now.
Okay.
Yes, 84. 84. I'm telling you, in December now.
Yeah.
No. You're right. 85 February. 85 February. You're right. 85 February. Because we were arrested in December 84. So it was 85 February. We're taking the Bella Yallah. Okay. So we got the Bella Yallah. And by the way, when I saw the clip you show on Bella Yallah, I was kind of, shocked and wondering whether those prisoners were really from Bella Yallah, because I didn't see any Bella Yallah haircut mark in their heads, because that's the first thing to do when you arrive in Bella Yallah. They put that Bella Yallah rose to the quote unquote. That is to distinguish you from the villagers and whatnot. So just in case you run away, the people will know that you are a prisoner, so they will arrest you. So they took us to Bella Yallah. We stayed there. When they took us to Bella Yallah, I forgot the name of the captain, but this guy, he pleaded on our behalf that, this guy, when you go to Bella Yallah, by the way, the tradition there is that you should be flogged, as a matter of tradition or introduction to the prison compound. Right. So they wanted to flog all the guys. Said, no. These people already, received that flogging. And I'm, trying to read, I'm going to run over the whole story. The reason why, they didn't flog us in Bella Yallah again after flogging us at the post target, because there was a huge outcry, after we had been flogged at the post target, the Amnesty International, those days, Amnesty International was very active in Liberia. And those days also, the IUS, the International Union of Students, were very active again in Liberia. Those days, there was African ASU, African Association of Students, something like that, They were very active too. So all the organizations, were advocating on our behalf. So it made things, a little bit easier for us. So we stayed in Bella Yallah for 5 months, hard labor. They carry you on the farm in the morning, you come back in the evening. And what they fed us was like dry rice. The day we were fortunate, mackerel, tinapa, and things, they just, wasted on the thing and stir it. It will not go all over the drum already, the hard drum already, they will cook. Those who will get that one at our business, Some people used to opt to eat the crust. Why? I got to realize the crust was more than the ration they will give you. So, for instance, they dish out 2 spoons of dry rice and put it in your bowl. But the person who will get a whole drum of rice crust get more food. So people used to fight to eat at restaurants. But to tell you the truth, the only lesson that I came from Bella Yallah with, the experience itself was educational for me, because when we arrived there, the soldiers were very hostile from the beginning. But thank God also, because of the presence of our comrade and friend Alari Tukpa. Alari Tukpa comes from Bella Yallah. So when we arrived in Bella Yallah, the whole town, when they saw Alari Tukpa, they took to crying that their son had returned to them, not in freedom, not as, an early graduate or so, but as a prisoner. So the whole town was crying. That confused even the soldiers. The soldiers were confused. From that day on. It helped moderate things for us, to an extent. All right. But
so this Bella Yallah it's not an isolated place, part of the village?
No. Bella Yallah is isolated from civilization, period. But within the confines of the town called Bella Yallah, is right on the outskirts of the town. So the town folks can come, in and out. As a matter of fact, because on many occasions, on many days, the prison was unable to feed the prisoners. So therefore, the town people would come at the prison compound and contract the prisoners to say, I want Dennis Jad, Dempster, Yallah, and this other person to go on my farm with me. If they were convinced now that you will not run away, then they will let you go. So when we had stayed there like 3-4 months, they started doing that for us just before our, departure from Bella Yallah. They started letting us go on farm to farm for people or whatnot. Other than that, we were always just around the prison compound, doing gardening, because I had agriculture degree. So of course I was the agriculture engineer there, or agriculture,
So how were you released? Executive clemency, or it was formed to be false?
Well, executive clemency, but not from Bella Yallah directly. Again, in July, I think around like July 18, we were transferred from Bella Yallah to the post docket. First, we were in the post docket for like 2 months. All right. And then the transfer of the Bella Yallah from December to February. All right. Then the transfer of the Bella Yallah. So in July 19, what a year? 1995? Yeah. 1985, we were transferred from Bella Yallah to the post docket again. So we were in the post docket, thinking, for instance, when July 26, we said, maybe July 26 is coming. The president wants to release us. That's why they brought us closer. But then let me just step back a little bit. When we were transferred to Bella Yallah, we realized that, in fact, it was a saving grace for us. Why? Because we heard that usually at the post docket, when people were there, people like Penu would just go sometime, drunk in the night, in the morning hours of early morning hours of the night, and just call certain prisoners also and kill them. Those are things we heard. So we were transferred to Bella Yallah, even though it was so far away from civilization or whatnot, we regretted all those stuff or so. But at the same time, we're a little bit happy that we're transferred to Bella Yallah away from those kinds of activities. That somebody would just come to the post docket in the morning, drunk or whatever the influence, and kill us. All right. So
okay. We got a lot of questions from Facebook that I want to ask. Yeah. But before we go there, that same 84, there was this incident of soldiers going on the University of Liberia campus. The famous move or be removed.
Right.
What's the story about that, and that you know of, being someone who was very close to these kind of activities? Well,
again, Amos Sawyer had been arrested. All right, from the Moja, perspective, Amos had been arrested along with Dr. George Kier and Tom Kamara and other people on the bogus charge of being part of the coup plot, staged by Nicholas Podia. Yeah. All right. Anybody who knows these people that I just named and the late Tom Kamara, you know that, those things were just far-fetched. George Care, Amos Sawyer go playing cool with, Nicholas Porter and whatnot. And even Nicholas Porter's own disposition on that day that he was arrested, coming from Buchanan or somewhere. I think he wanted to watch soccer game or so, and they arrested him ELWA Junction, all the nonsense or so. So the university students, because Amos Sawyer was arrested, he was the dean of Liberia College. George Care at the time, he was doing his, I think he had completed his master's or so. He had gone to Liberia to get some, research work done for his PhD dissertation. So he was in Liberia. But, at the same time, as an active politician or so, you're with LPP. But long story short, so they arrested the people on coup plat. But the university student knew better. They knew that it was bogus, it was fake, it was a lie. So they started, protesting that we want our instructors back. We want to go to school, we want our instructors back, And then, of course, Doe had that joint, the meeting with the joint legislature, at the Capitol building. And to tell you the truth, when I listened to the recording of Doe's own speech, that move or be removed, the utterance there was an error he tried to correct. We all knowing Doe, the kind of person he was at the time, so he was not sure of the word he was pronouncing, the words he was using. So he said, "Move or be removed," something like that. Now, Grady Allison then took it to be, an order and instruction to move the university student, and of course the capital. Are you hearing me, Dennis?
Okay, now I'm hearing you.
Okay, yeah, because something came across my screen saying my internet connection was disabled. So when Doe said that, Grady Allison, from what we were told, I was now at the Capitol building, that he instructed soldiers to go ahead and carry on what Doe had instructed for the student to disperse right away. Now, as I said, the demonstration those days were always, concentrated on the university campus. So why would you go on university campus and say the student must disperse or so? The student could have just remained right there and nothing could have happened. But of course, the soldiers went there to disperse the students or so. And those things, from what we heard, people got killed, people got raped, and all of that. That was a horrible, horrible thing in the history of Liberia once again.
Because I understand at that time there was a challenge that anyone could come forward who relative was killed or raped. And I don't remember anyone. So were people really killed, to the best of your knowledge?
That's what, look, people from the various hospitals, maternity center received either people who had been killed or died, John F. Kennedy Hospital people, but under the circumstances and whatnot, the Liberia that we grew up in, which family would have come forward to say, yeah, my son got killed or so, so it was a catch-22. You want to report it, at the same time you are afraid that if you did so, the consequence would be, maybe your own life. So that's what happened. All
right. Let's go to our Facebook, and we have a lot coming up here, a lot of questions. Let me start from the top. It's from Jimmy Eastman. It said, after the overthrow of the TWP in 1980, what role did Moja and Power play after that? Was there no further injustice in Liberia to address? Or it was after the overthrow of President Toba, was it mission accomplished? That's what Eastman is asking.
Very well. As I said, the whole coup thing, took all of us by surprise. It was not at the behest of Moja or PAL or UPP at the time, that made a coup to be successful to take place. All right. So the two organizations just benefited, like you said earlier, from the kindness, the goodwill of the coup. When those guys took over, as I said, though when we met him as the legislative delegation, the meeting at the mansion or so, he was very timid at the time. All right, so you can imagine, his from the beginning of the coup. So therefore, they needed people like Baker Matthews, Amos Sawyer, but Amos Sawyer did not work with that government at the time. But Tipote and the progressive forces, they needed them to establish themselves with the Liberian people. And so that's what happened. So they tried to use the progressives,
to get credibility,
for stability, to solidify their own, well-being in the country. Then you would think they meant well for those people, But even if they meant well, later on, of course we know that, for instance, the disappearance of either colonialism or whatever the oppressive mechanism or so, it does not necessarily mean the instantaneous disappearance of all the vestiges of those misrules. So therefore, that not because the two TWP have been overthrown, therefore everything now was just rosy now for the country. No, there were still elements of the TWP trying to find their way. In fact, those very elements created the rift, into between rather the PRC government, the PRC element, and the progressive movement. Be careful with those guys. Those guys are socialists. If you continue to maintain them in your government, why not? They will cause your overthrow. They will kill you. So those things happen. So no, I tell you, whoever asked that question, that no, it was not all rosy or whatnot. And because of all the intricacy of the TWP element, they were not all, they did not all disappear.
They were still struggle continues.
The struggle continues, exactly. So.
Dr. Samuel Ngovo is asking, saying, with all the work of the progressive, why have they not been rewarded with political leadership in Liberia, except for Dr. Sawyer through an interim arrangement?
Well, I don't know what Dr. Ngovo you said.
Yeah, he said with all the work the progressive did.
Is that a he or she?
That's a he. Samuel. All right, some more technical. If you just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the political landscape of Liberia from the 1970s to present. Our guest tonight is Mr. Dempster Yallah, a progressive and also student activist. He was in 1985 sent to the notorious Yallah on charges of being the author of the famous or infamous React. That's underground paper. Dr. Mr. Yallah is joining us from Inkster, Michigan. Okay, we lost we lost Mr. Yallah. I hope he joins us back. And so what we're discussing, okay, the political landscape. When Mr. Yallah joins us, we're going to kind of run a little analysis, comparative analysis from the days of President Turbot to now. We want to look at our current realities and how we can move forward. Mr. Yallah, you're back? Okay, we're going to speak about that. What can we do to move forward, and how well, if we compare yesterday and today, how can we score, or how can we think, have we improved, have we moved forward, or have we retrogressed? Mr. Yallah, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. So now our time is fast spent. Let's go through. You were part of the politics of Liberia. You really became active in the 1980s and up to now. So let's just do some form of comparison from the days of President Turbot to now. When we look at first, let's look at the policies of the government, opposition, and the response of the administration to opposition, and then we also look at activism. Just quickly do some comparative analysis.
Well, I can tell you, am I clear to you?
Yeah, you're clear.
Very well. We, as I said at some point during the discussion, that the Toba government was really making some progress. All right. It must have been slow pace, given the high level of anxiety of the progressive and the entire population. We wanted to see change and change come quick, but Toba was making progress. All right. So again, as I said, we as progressives, especially the Moja group, we would have never resorted to any coup to kill or overthrow government, for any unknown reasons. Because Toba, as far as we're concerned, even people who Toba hung during his administration, they went through the justice or judicial system. It was very clear that he had no kind of personal, input into it. It was the law. The people were found guilty. They were hung. That was Toba. That's the kind of thing we wanted. We just wanted it to improve and improve faster, period. All right. Moving forward, after going through all of what Liberia has been through, the unfortunate thing is that, again, because of the war, because of the lack of discipline, are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay. The lack of discipline, the lack of organizational structures at so many levels, that students and young people, will emulate, to be their own ideal lifestyle, for the growth and development of Liberia. Those things, unfortunately, because of the war years, did not exist. So people did not learn anything those war years. All right. And begin to, they are affecting our, social interaction, social intercourse, so to speak, today. So unfortunately, that's what is happening in Liberia, that people have no kind of, yardstick, so to speak, because of the 15-year void, in good examples, in leadership examples, in whatever it is or so that void. I forget again the thrust of your question.
Right. We were comparing,
Oh, yeah. So therefore, activism, student activism, political activism is different today. Take, for example, at the University of Liberia. I can tell you one of the things that I see is happening at the university is that during our days, all right, the SUP militants were predominantly of Moja and PPP or UPP, derivation. In other words, they came from those two circles or so. But nowadays, you got maybe 22 political parties in Liberia, and those party members, are within Moja. So not Moja, excuse me, in SUP at the university. So therefore, the tendency in SUP now is varying now to, quite a garden variety of tendencies and opinions in SUP now. So it's very difficult for SUP to take any kind of clear-cut line with, towards national policy, because there are some, for instance, right now, there are CDC partisan within SUP. All right. So how will SUP be able to now criticize CDC or take some hardline against CDC, without affecting their interests or so? So those kinds of stuff. So we see that those are things that the current generation or current young people also have to work with. When we were at the university, for example, also, we tried to groom people, even from the high school level. We identified the Dennis Jazz and things that were in high school, very smart and progressive or so. We work with them to make sure that they didn't go astray, that people didn't, buy them or so, all that kind of stuff. Nowadays, I don't even know if those kinds of things are going on. And they were all for the good of the country. Because I can tell you, the ideology of SUP, which happens to be massacracy, but more than that, we believe in democracy. We believe in, freedom of speech. We believe in freedom of the press, religion, and all the kind of stuff. So nobody will go against that. All right. But those things, unfortunately, so many tendencies and self-interest, and selfish ambitions and things, are hampering those very idealisms.
Joel Sine wrote, say you were part of the movement for a better Liberia. Do you think you succeeded? are you happy to see the country where it is today?
Again, I referenced, that earlier to say that our main objective was democracy. Our main objective was multi-party democracy. Our main objective was to see, freedom of movement, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and whatnot. And if that is gaining some stronghold in Liberia, we can say we succeeded. It may not be as perfect as, the lady who asked the question as she, anticipate or expect or so, but we're moving towards that. And gradually, we'll land somewhere in the next maybe 5 years, 10, 15, 20, 25 years down the line or so. But for now, we are moving in the right direction. Along the way, just like in each of our organizations, we have varying, retrogressive tendencies and whatnot, reactionary tendencies, or what have you. So also in national government, you have those kinds of tendencies. So that is what is happening on the ground right now.
Right. There's a point of correction. They say James Bly says the person who was arrested after the IE game was Thomas Wesen in 1981. And Dayton C. Bow said he's in Ganta. He said Podia was arrested around Ganta and not around EAWA. That's the. But the question I have for you here that is keep coming is the death of Wo Gabi Tapie.
Mm-hmm.
Who killed him and why did he die? Do you know?
Well, again, I wasn't in Liberia during the course of the war. I left Liberia. I was in America now, and thank God for, American consideration or so by way of political asylum. I'm here today. What we heard was that Wo Gabi Tapie, was identified in a line like, those of you who went through the war, when you arrive at some checkpoint, right? They want to identify, who you are, where you're going, where you're from, that kind of stuff. And people identify Wo Gabi Tapie as one of the quote-unquote university students that was quote-unquote causing trouble. And my understanding was that, that's how he, from that background, he got killed, or for that reason, he got killed. For such a foolish thing, as if to say whatever advocacy this man was engaged in, so was for his own personal benefit, not in the interest of the country. But I heard, they say he was a troublemaker. So in other words, it tells me that it was government security forces, because at the time, it had to be people from that background, that would carry on those kind of things. Because if for the other people, they would be, in fact, embracing the man. But right. No, they killed him.
You would think that, but it was the same people that killed Jackson Doe, so we can be too sure. You would think that the NPFL will embrace Jackson Doe, but he was allegedly killed by the NPFL. But Mrs. Yasendi Martin Peye, she's the former president of the community here, said her brother, Dr. Emmanuel Dolo, was the editor-in-chief of React, according to what she wrote here. Do you know that for a fact?
I don't know that for a fact. I don't believe it. I know Dr. Emmanuel Dolo. Emmanuel Dolo would not have been, the editor for React. There was no editor. I mean, again, I did not participate in any writing. I mean, look, to tell you the truth, brother Dennis, that if I had participated in any such thing, remember in my bio, I said that, I was in fact grateful for even going to jail in Bella Yallah, all right? If I had participated in writing React, because I know what React stood for, what React did, I was going to be, a proud, proponent of that. But no, Dr. Dolo could never have been. There was no editor for React. React was just something, an ad hoc, kind of arrangement, configuration. So there was no editor. So no, that person is not telling the truth.
I mean, why are you ruling out Dr. Dolo? Was he too young, or why you think he couldn't have been?
Well, all due respect to Dr. Dolo, he had not reached that level yet to be a React member, period.
Okay. Oh. Lorenzo Gatose, can you tell us a little bit about Reverend Tayo? He was the leader of Moja in Nimba. I think he was the vice chair of them. I think that's Reverend Dr. Tayo.
Nyakuyanyon Tayo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lorenzo Gatto said, my late dad spoke highly about Dr. Tayo. So Lorenzo wants to know a little bit about Dr. Tayo regarding Moja.
Right. Even myself, Brother Dennis, I had not interacted with Reverend Tayo I have more than one occasion. The one occasion I remember interacting with Reverend Tayo was when he appeared on the university campus to address a gathering of students after the death of Edward Berry. Edward Berry was a supermarket worker that got killed by Lebanese people because I think he was eating a candy that he took from the shelf, something like that. So, this other Lebanese guy, went and tussled with Edward Berry to get that candy from his mouth. And somehow, he choked the man to death. All right. So we were having some kind of memorial service for Edward Berry on a university campus. And Reverend Tayo appeared there. He was the guest preacher at that program. That was my first, I've heard of Reverend Tayo. I had heard of Reverend Tayo before then, but my first time meeting with Reverend Tayo at that program. And he delivered a wonderful, wonderful sermon, at that program. So I can regret, unfortunately, I can't say much about Reverend Tayo to that gentleman.
Dave just said, don't you think the LPP and UPP should dissolve and rebrand as a new political party, as well as relinquish the socialist nomenclature, example, People's Party, or Politburo on sub campus, and so on and so forth?
So Dave Jai is assuming that LPP is on campus, UPP is on campus, talking about Politburo. There's no Politburo in LPP, there's no Politburo in UPP, so Dave Jai has it wrong.
No, he said the People's Party.
Huh?
He said you should relinquish. First is, don't you think LPP should dissolve and rebrand as a new political party, as well as relinquish the socialist nomenclature, example, People's Party, Liberian People's Party, United People's Party. He called that socialist.
Well, I don't know, why Dave Jai feels that People's Party means, People's Party will connotate socialism. It just, it's written out there, Liberian People's Party. So is he suggesting or inferring that the Liberian people who belong to the party are socialists? No. It's just the Liberian People's Party, Unity Party, or United People's Party, that kind of stuff. Nothing socialist about that. Even in the two, initially, perhaps socialism was an attraction for people as an alternative to three-party rules and all that kind of stuff. Those days, socialism was the thing to look up to, communism. But nowadays, Dave Jai has a point, but there's nothing wrong with the name of LPP, for example. I don't know about UPP, but LPP, there's nothing wrong with it. We can still operate under that nomenclature. We just need to maybe not redefine, not rebrand. We can rebrand ourselves, but not name wide, not nomenclature. But
not dissolve. He wants you to dissolve and rebrand.
Now, people like Dave Jai rather. I pitied their situation because they got no alternative to these, aesthetic criticisms or so. They sit in the confine of their living room and whatnot and want to badmouth other people for even attempting to bring about change. Now, mind you, Dave Jai is my friend, all right? But, I challenge Dave Jai to go form his own party, whether you call it, Joison or whatever party or whatever, But, let the other people go. It's a matter of choice, a democracy, a multi-party democracy. That's why some of us, supported this day to come that will have, all these options. If you want Communist Party, you take Communist Party. You want the Workers' Party, you go for the Workers' Party. So let not Dave Jai worry about how other people call themselves. Let him organize his own party, period. Thank you.
All right. Let's look at today. What do you, right now, we have a new government, like less than 6 months old. looking at your days from the days of Tubber to now, what are the signs you're reading on the wall for this new government? Are they doing well? Are there challenges? How you think they're doing?
Well, any government, Brother Jah, any government should give people hope, should give people reason for, believing in that government. So in other words, the government has to be honest with the people. The government has to level with the people, instead of taking people by surprise or surprises, in its policies and programs. All right. And wherein the people, have hope in the government, wherein the people believe in the government, they will go through any degree of hardship, just to make sure that that government succeeds, because they know at the end of the day, that everything will be well. But wherein there's no vision, wherein the people lack hope, wherein the people lack any sense of direction or so, is a troubling situation. And I can tell you that from what we are hearing, taking place on the ground where, there is skyrocketing exchange rate. There is, because of that, based on that, prices of commodities are going up, every day. The exchange rate, as I said, is going up and whatnot. No kind of guarantee. People not sure what's going to happen next day and whatnot. That is a bad, situation that we find ourselves in today. The government has to do something to make sure to reverse that course. You hear me?
Yeah. But those things have happened before. We have had inflation, we have foreign exchange going up. What's different now?
Because this is a new government, Brother Jah. This is a new government. New government is supposed to come in with a sense of direction, motivation, and new programs and whatnot. I tell you what, when Tubber took over, you must have shared this before. When Tubber took over in 1971, all right, you would have thought that man came from some graduate school, all right, with the new idea that he introduced, in Liberia. The fact that when the man got in power, he changed the time, all right, from LST to GMT, okay, to show that, things are going to be different. Besides that, he introduced, farm to market role as new policies and programs. Mat to mattress, a new, policies and programs. Total involvement for higher heights, rally time, all of those things. Tubber did it. Tubber inspired people. But what we face with today now, very uninspiring. I can tell you that. I mean, not only because I'm not a member of CDC or so, but we all thought that if CDC came to power, because that was the argument that was advanced or that were advanced during the election, that even though Upon did not know much, he was inexperienced, but he was going to surround himself with educated people, with competent people, with professional people and whatnot. They were going to do the job for him. But up to this point, I mean, we don't see it happening. And people are getting disenchanted by the day. It doesn't fare well for all of us, and not only the CDC, because if any S goes down, it affects all of us, and we don't want that. That's how come, I will go back one step. That's how come when Ellen was in power, I mean, you and I talk about with some of our grounded arms, just to give quote unquote democracy, give the government a chance. People are doing it, but in the early situation, people saw signs of progress. People saw signs of visions and whatnot. All right. Mm-hmm. But in this government, there's nothing. In fact, people can't say they don't even need plans. They don't even need programs, because other government before, they have plans, they have programs, and it didn't do anything. It didn't materialize into anything for them. What kind of nonsense is that?
And James Bly is back. He's asking, he said, don't you think if Mr. Weir had taken part in the political debate, it would have made voters to know his political standing towards what he wanted to do?
Well, again, that is a hindsight kind of question or so.
It's 2020, right?
Right. So upon they not take part in the debates, you would think say that the voter would have said, well, this man here, you know, is disrespecting us, or this man here, it shows that he didn't know anything, so we're not voting for him. But he didn't take part in debate, in debate, rather, the people voted for him. So what can we say?
They said
we got what we wanted.
They said that debate will eat.
Oh, exactly so.
All right. Dave Jai is back, the man who's going to form. He said, are you still connected to the likes of Pajibo and all? Did you folks abandon Dr. Tukbana Tipote in his quest to become president on the ticket of the LPP?
No, sir, not at all. Yes, I'm still connected to Pajibo. Pajibo is a lifelong friend of mine, a brother of mine. I mean, remember that Pajibo and I went to Bella Yallah together. You were one of those that went to Bella Yallah. So Pajibo, Ezekiel, Alaro Topa, my wife Lucia, Jean Fromoya, we will remain lifelong friends, except, you know, who knows what may happen, you know, to sever that relationship.
You guys are not voting for Tipote for the president. What's going on?
No, well, you know, again, in our organization, you know, we believe in institutional. So we don't believe in individual. We give Dr. Tipote the respect. If Tipote were elected the standard bearer of LPP, you know, into an election, obviously we'll support Tipote. But if Tipote was not elected, you know, standard bearer will not support Tipote. But don't forget, and let Dave Jai know that also that Tipote, you know, resigned from LPP, formed his own party. So Tipote has a party now different from LPP. We just affiliate with him because we are all, you know, former colleagues. By the way, he way younger than me. I mean, political colleagues, period.
Right. There's still, and I saw a lot of that during the war, that indeed the trouble we have in Liberia can be blamed on the progressive because they caused the death of Tubro. That was in some circles, especially at the height of the war, that things were to the point that people started saying both people, in fact, failed the country.
Mm-hmm.
Did the progressive to be blamed in the downward spiral or what the bad things that happen in the country?
No, I don't think so. And here reasons why. Because again, the progressives, you know, were not operating in vacuum. Everything that the progressives, you know, advocated against or in favor of, you know, were reality. When you talk about oppression of Liberian people, it was reality. When you talk about the underpayment of workers or the non-payment of workers was reality. When you talk about the lack of rule of law in the country was reality, you know. So those are things that progressives were advocating, all right? So, I mean, nobody can come and say that those things were a lie. For instance, let me go back. In fact, one of the things that people, if nobody has raised that, but I'm sure somebody may want to raise that, let me just circumvent that, which is that people say Baker Matthew said he could reduce the price of rice to $9 when it was something like $14. It is a fact. I came in this country, I told you earlier, Brother Jad, that I didn't want to mention date. I came in this country in 1989. There was not Sam's Club, there was a warehouse club. I went and bought a 25-pound bag of rice for $3.98. 25 pounds for $3.98 in America here. I'm talking about 1989. So you're talking about 1975, 76, 77 or so, and buying, you know, rice in bulk at the time, you know. I'm sure, you know, Baker Matthew was telling the truth that he could have bought rice, or Liberia could have imported rice in the country, you know, to go for that for $9 a bag, or even $10, $11, $12, as compared to $18, $21 that the rice was being sold for at the time. So he was right. So of course, yeah, there were things that you know, Liberian people did not understand, and of course we didn't. Progressive did not have the means, the opportunity, you know, to explain to them or whatnot, so they counter it against the progressives, you know. But yeah, there were some facts in some of those things.
Mm-hmm. So what was the rice riots? Was it a mistake or justified?
Well, the arrest riot was, it was not a mistake. It was not a mistake. It was a mistake. Well, I'll take that back. It was a mistake on the part of the government, because this is what happened. All right. Okay. It should not have firstly erupted or resulted into a riot if the government had listened to Abapo, because Abapo was the intervening, individual going between government and the Progressive Alliance file at the time. All right. How did the riot start? I will jump straight to that. Okay. The riot was not something, the demonstration, that was planned, was not planned to be a riot. All right. The people met at PAL headquarters on not Newport Street, what they call it, Gully Street. PAL headquarters on Gully. That's where they met. That's where the demonstration should have started from. All right. Or they should have gotten instruction from there to go out in the street wherever they were going to start. Because Toba then had decided that, nobody was going to go in the street, they therefore sent police forces to go and disperse the people. When they went to PAL headquarters and tried to disperse the people, that where all quote unquote hell broke loose. So people started, running helter-skelter or so all over Monrovia. Now, you know how rumors, can spread like wildfire in under those kind of circumstances. So when people heard that, the government was shooting people, the government was doing that, whatnot. So people coming from Logan Town, from Nukuta, and whatnot, so they started doing their own thing in retaliation. And that's how the whole thing spread like wildfire. But the whole thing was not a planned, a riot. No. The people had gone to PAL headquarters to organize in order to march in the street to go to either to the mansion or to go to meet wherever they were supposed to meet, to present their statement of protest. But they were not allowed to. The government security people went there and started, throwing, tear gas and things to disperse people. That's how the whole thing erupted into riot and the kind of thing we saw in Monrovia.
So as we draw down, Mr. Yallah, if you were advising the current administration, the current government, based on your experience, what would that be?
Well, listen to your people, listen to the people's representatives, even though some of our representatives are themselves, in a sorry state because, they represent self-interest and not their people or so. But I'm sure Opon is reading many of these feedbacks on social media.
I hope he's watching FOL right now.
Exactly so. Okay. Or there are people, that listen to these kind of programs or read on social media and inform him. So I hope they can adjust their policies and programs and the thrust of government, all that the Liberian people want. No magic. We know that it would take time. It will require, resources and efforts from all angles and levels or so to make things. First time when Ellen was in power, everything was not rosy. No, we know that. Even before Talbot, before Ellen. All right. So Opon will not come and just wave magic wine for things to fall in place. We know that. But just be honest with the people.
If you are still there, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the political landscape of Liberia from 1970 to present. Our guest is Mr. Dempster Yallah. He's been in politics for as long as when he was a student at BWI in the 1970s. Mr. Yallah is joining us from Michigan. And Mr. Yallah, if you are connected again, we want to say thank you so much. There's a question here before you, if you join us back, Mr. Vasiki Kana is asking whose idea was it to execute the 13. Okay, Mr. Yallah is gone. We lost him, and when he comes back, he's just going to make his closing statement. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. For those of you joining us by Facebook and also watching us on Twitter or YouTube, I want to say thank you so much. And my great friend, Mr. Elder Kokro, will say welcome. We are about to draw down our curtains. So, Mr. Yallah, before we close the program, Basiki
Yes,
Kona
sir.
was asking who issued, if you know, the 13 men that were executed during the early days of the PRC. Basiki Kona is asking who issued that the order to execute them, and after that, you can give your closing statement.
Thank you very much, brother Dennis. You know, I don't know specifically. There has been, debates going on that as to who issued that statement. People blame, quote unquote, the progressives again. They said they in fact, they listed the people and what have you. But one thing I know in my own circle, the Moja circle, the LPP circle and whatnot, our people have told us, because we have asked them that, because that's our culture, that's our tradition. We ask questions, we ask those critical questions. Did you guys do that and whatnot? And people told us that no, they were not part of that. Our people now said they were not part of that. That they got to know about some of the things. In fact, they tried to intervene to tell the people, no, you cannot do this. I can tell you, for instance, somebody like Cecil Dennis. What was Cecil Dennis's crime besides, being a part of the political arrangement? What was Jim T. Phillips' crime? These people did not kill anybody, directly. People like Neil, people like Dennis, not Dennis, the guy from Commerce Ministry.
Goodrich?
Yeah, all those people. Even Tauber himself. What was the man's crime? As I said, this man here was trying to open society. It may have been slow, for some people and whatnot, but we appreciated that. Let me just throw this in there. My first plane ride in my life was through the courtesy of William Talbot, when the defense pact between Liberia and Guinea was being signed. I was one of the students that the offer opportunity for a certain number of students to come from the university and to come from Cottington. I was selected at the time to accompany James T. Phillips, to Guinea to sign that defense pact. So we went for that thing there one night. I have a special place in my heart for Talbot. As I said, we advocated for change in Liberia or so. For some people it was slow, but I can guarantee, I can tell you that it were not Liberian people responsible for the death of Talbot. So no progressive should be blamed for that. No Baker, Matthew, Tipote, Sawyer, nothing, zero. All right, we can only be blamed for the advocacy, which was nothing wrong. We don't shy away from that. I can defend it. Tipote, name it. The one thing I know about my group, when it comes to adequacy in terms of defending or whatnot, oh man, we got more than competent people or so. All right. So having said that, I don't know if that's satisfactory, but having said that, I just want to thank you, Brother Jah, for affording me the opportunity to appear on your program tonight. And like you said, I hope people in Liberia, people in government especially, are listening to this program. And we pray and hope that, this program will expand, will grow, to benefit us in Liberia. You are doing pretty much, you're doing very well. And, all blessings to you.
Thank you so much. And I am not alone. Thank to
your crew also, yes.
Your crew are doing very excellently well.
Yes.
And thank you for appearing. This is a tip of the iceberg of a period that spanned over 40 years. But thank you for your answers. And I want to thank our crew on Facebook. I know I was not able to read all your comments and questions because of time. But this Mr. Yallah has so much experience that 2 hours, in fact, is not enough to get everything out of him. But this is just an introduction. We have the video that is going to be on Facebook and also on YouTube. So continue to ask your questions. We will ask Mr. Yallah to find a few minutes and go there and respond to some of those questions. One of those questions you need to think about is say you are not giving credit to President Doe because he introduced Green Revolution and the market and all that. But think about that and then you go and respond on Facebook.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you so much for your time. On behalf of my crew here, I want to say thanks so much for coming and also being part of this program. We want to thank those who join us via Facebook. Focus on Liberia is every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 10 p.m. the Liberian Standard Time. We encourage all of you to tune in, continue to support us, continue to do everything you can, because our goal here is to educate, is to promote and elevate everything Liberia. We know Liberia is the only country we have, and we need to do whatever it takes that we can make it better for all of us. Until next time, my name is Dennis Jah on behalf of my producer and also my guest relations manager, saying so long.
Thank you, Brother Jah.
Thank you so much. A pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And before I leave, I want to give a shout out to my co-host, Miss Danielle Knuckles. She's not here today because she's celebrating her first wedding anniversary. Danielle, a shout out to you and Venner. God bless you.